What do you need to take a product global? I think sometimes on the surface it seems quite trivial. Well, you just translate things from A to B, but it is actually quite more complex than that.
ITCS Pizzatime Podcast. Cheesy questions and juicy answers for the tech community.
Hi und willkommen zu einer neuen Episode des ITCS Pizzatime Tech Podcasts. Heute mit dem spannenden Thema der Softwarelokalisierung. Sicherlich seid auch ihr schon in den Genuss der zahlreichen Übersetzer wie DeepL, Google Translate etc. gekommen. Doch wusstet ihr, dass es sogar Übersetzungen für Softwareprodukte gibt? Bestimmt fragt ihr euch, warum? Ganz einfach. Softwarehersteller lassen ihre Produkte lokalisieren, um kulturelle Hindernisse zu überwinden und ihre Produkte so einer weit größeren Zielgruppe anbieten zu können. Na, neugierig geworden? Dann werft gemeinsam mit Stephen Lumenta, Group CTO von Memsource, einen Blick hinter die Kulissen der Softwarelokalisierung. Viel Spaß!
Hello, everybody. My name is Stephen, and I'm the CTO of Phrase, which is part of the Memsource Group. And today I wanted to talk about behind the scenes of software localization. And what does it mean specifically? So, give you a rough overview and idea. What are the topics today? First, a little bit of background about the Memsource Group and our products to just contextualize what I will talk about. Then I will describe a typical translation workflow, because that's our core business, helping you translate things and showing you what challenges we need to solve to build a complete translation suite. And then two more very brief, very high-level technical examples on how we approach specific technical problems. The one is about how we utilize GraphQL for engaging user experiences, and an AI example, how we use AI to optimize workflows and costs. I think in the description I said whirlwind. Whirlwind means this is super fast and quick. I think all of these topics would deserve their own talk. But the end goal would be to give you an idea what it means to tackle translation challenges, localization challenges. And actually, I think there is a lot of interesting technology behind it we need to solve and work on a daily basis. So what's the Memsource Group? We provide the most comprehensive solution for taking digital products global. And that means, in a nutshell, we help you translate, localize your content. I think that goes from very small scale, your own website that you want to roll out to different countries, to whole manuals, booklets, and a lot of long-form text as well. There are two core products behind it, which is the Phrase product, which is focusing on software localization. So the core products are like mobile and websites, but it could also be your in-car navigation system, anything that you interact with and that you see in your native language. We support translating. I like to call it a Git for translation, so it allows you to pull and push translations and work within a team in it. So the whole workflow is mostly automated, so we allow running asynchronous jobs. There are parts of machine translation. There are developer-friendly APIs behind it, so you can integrate it into your own CI/CD workflow, and overall generally integrations with the toolings you will use in a technical, product or engineering organization like GitHub, Jira, Figma, and so forth. And of course, at the core of it is an editor. And our other product is Memsource, which is a full translation management system. It allows you to translate any document, and it's a comprehensive translation management system. It includes even more integrations. It is 30 plus and has a full suite of linguistic tools integrated. So I imagine that most of you have not worked as translators or probably are not familiar with some of the terminology that we're using there, but some terms is like translation memory is a functionality, glossaries, term bases, and of course quality checks to verify that you have a good translation. And there is also, on the automation side of things, we have something which we call Memsource Translate, which involves different AI functionality to help you translate better, which ranges from something that I will describe later, which is called non-translatables, to full machine translation engines. And now some statistics about the Memsource Group. Memsource, the company, was founded in 2010, and the Phrase company was founded in 2011, and we finally joined forces this year. It means we formed the Memsource Group this year, which combines both product, Memsource and Phrase. We're processing up to 1 billion words on a monthly basis, support over 500 languages. The fun fact is there are, I think, over 6,000 languages in total in the world, but we support the most used ones. We are something, I think, a bit over 200 employees, of which are roughly 100 in engineering. We are headquartered in Hamburg, Germany, and in Prague, the Czech Republic, but also have offices in the US, Asia, Japan, but also very remote friendly. So I'm sitting in Berlin right now. And we have overall 29 nationalities on our team, which is also a nice number. So let's start describing a translation workflow. What do you need to take a product global? I think sometimes on the surface it seems quite trivial. Well, you just translate things from A to B, but it is actually quite more complex than that. It usually starts with the idea, so you want to reach new audiences globally, and you want them to let them use your product. Let's call it your new mobile app in their native language. And then you realize you have probably a CMS system running, or you have your own homegrown system running. It can be any kind of technology, but you want to integrate now some form of translation service with your existing system. So that's the challenge, right? And you have your own formats there as well. Okay, how do you do that? Then it goes further. You want to coordinate translation services among translators. You have product managers involved. You have designers involved, and potentially other teams. And of course, developers. I didn't mention it here. So depending on the size of your company, there can be over 100 people involved to translate things, right? And that is a high overhead. And of course, as with all good things, you want to make sure it has the highest quality possible and no, mistakes in the translations. Of course, you want to automate the mundane and repeating tasks. Of course, it's always the same thing. You want to save time, but you also want to reduce human error. And last but not least, do it fast. So how does that map now to technology? So when we talk about integrations, you need to integrate and orchestrate with all kinds of different APIs and systems with high reliability and performance, which is in a nutshell a distributed system problem between all kind of sometimes good performing and not performing actors. You need fast, intuitive interfaces so that teams can rely on, translators use our tools on a daily basis, sometimes up for hours, and you need to make sure that they have the greatest experience possible. And you can do this with good front-end technology, with a good UX, good design to make their life pleasant and their job pleasant. Yeah. If we want to make sure that everything has the right quality, this is sometimes an interface problem, but at the same time, you can use AI for this. It can help you to verify how your translation is performing, but you can also use something which I mentioned before, translation memory and glossaries, to have a set of specific words pre-translated for you that you can reuse over and over. Machine translation and background jobs help you to speed up the translations. Of course, everybody has used Google Translate or DeepL, something like this already. And when we say do it fast, of course, we mean do it fast, but you also need to do it reliably. So you need resilience services, some form of DevOps culture that allows that you have high site reliability and high uptime, because as mentioned before, people use our tools daily basis to get things done. And of course, we need to ensure that all of this is functioning as expected. And to give you two very short examples of what that means in practice and how we leverage different technologies to deliver our translation services, I'll start with the example of GraphQL for intuitive interfaces. We went out and say okay, we have to review our UX and make sure the experience is very readable, but also snappy, that the interface is moving fast, but also hides the complexity of translation behind the interface. So again, that translators can focus on the job at hand. And we set out, okay, let's see how we can improve our editor and rebuild it. So, but the challenges were, we need a rich client-side experience, and we're looking for deep query capabilities. Sometimes we have deeply nested keys we have to get at, and ideally the clients and our front-end clients can do this easily. But also, as a company, we wanted to have autonomous teams that can move independently on this, so you don't have to wait for someone to throw some code over the wall, as they beautifully say. And at the same time, we cannot stop the world and rewrite our whole editor. So we wanted to make sure that there is no interruption in the existing operations that we have. Some of you already have experienced that. Of course, that's the classic problem you have if you have a monolithic code base. Our phrase main application is a Ruby and Rails application. It also meant shielding away the monolith a bit so we can move faster and allow teams to move faster. And the solution we came up with, use GraphQL for it as a common gateway, so we can use and join different APIs in front of our Rails monolith. Wanted to reuse Vue.js for the front end. We are very happy using the Vue.js component system. And we use Elixir on top of the special mention where for the Absinthe library to handle GraphQL to allow us handling many concurrent requests. In the end, querying different APIs and building up a data graph. A graph structure requires doing a lot of parallel requests, and Elixir, or better said, the Erlang ecosystem is perfectly built for this. What we get out of it as well is a nice schema and the possibility to only query what we want and what we need, so that reduces bandwidth. We have a nice data separation per visual components that you could see before. So all of these little components have their own data layer, so to say. And we can also heavily optimize caching and queries to ensure that we have a good look and feel, and also that the interface feels fast. The second very high-level example is how we leverage AI and NLP for non-translatables. So what are non-translatables? Probably let's start there. Formulas, for example, are non-translatables. Or dates are non-translatables, or currency. So everything which you will find in a text which doesn't have a representation in another language. And the surprising fact is that a lot of text, especially more technical text like manuals and others, contain code examples, by the way. If something is written in JavaScript, you don't translate it into another language. That a lot of texts contain a lot of non-translatables. Overall, we see that 14% of segments within a text can be non-translatables, which is actually quite a lot if you think about it. I wouldn't have expected like this. And these non-translatables, they create costs, they're time-consuming, and they introduce errors. And what's the solution that we found here? Of course, you'll hear it quite often. AI and natural language processing, NLP stands for natural language processing, to the rescue. And we're doing something which is called using convolutional neural networks, CNNs in short, one-dimensional, that scan along the text and look at each character within a text, and that creates so-called embeddings. Of course, if you've never heard about deep learning and all of these things, that some of it sounds quite foreign, but the nice property of all of this is, since we have so much data and previous data where we could identify non-translatables, again, I said we are creating billions of words, or look at billions of words on a monthly basis. We have a nice data set that we can train these CNNs on. Of course, we need to also look at, evaluate what our data sets are like. But overall, we have a good data set to use this, and we can use this to train, to do a binary prediction. Is something translatable or non-translatable? Under the hood, apart from all the machine learning techniques that there, this is using plain TensorFlow and Python. TensorFlow, you might have heard of it, as a machine learning framework that has been created at Google, and Python is the likely lingua franca of data science. And as a result, that was a big success, and this even has a patent, is a fully automated non-translatable detection. So these 14% within a text, we can, with an accuracy of up to 99%, can identify within the text, and it helps our customers, to reduce their costs, spend less time, and we can assure continuously that the performance is there that we're looking at. I think that's a very nice example of how AI can really help improve workflows or augment human workflows in a good sense. So that was a very, very quick high-level tour of many things we're doing here in the Memsource Group. So if you think this sounds interesting, if you're into Elixir, if you're into Ruby, if you're into Java, if you're into data science, if you're into UX, or a front-end developer. I think we're hiring all over the board and interested to hear from you. There's our email, jobs@memsource.com. Shoot us a CV or just say hi, or if you want to have more information. Yes, so we'd be happy to have you on board, and thanks for that.
Vielen Dank, Stephen, für einen exklusiven Einblick hinter die Kulissen der Softwarelokalisierung. Erstaunlich, welche technische Vielfalt auch hier existiert. Welche Übersetzungstools sind eure Favorites? Wir hören uns nächste Woche wieder, wenn wir euch eine neue Folge des ITCS Pizzatime Tech Podcasts servieren. Wenn ihr in Zukunft keine Folge mehr verpassen wollt, abonniert uns einfach, falls ihr das nicht schon getan habt. Also, bis dahin. Ciao!
ITCS Pizzatime Podcast.